In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and merciful, I welcome you all in our today's session. Today we'll be talking about business ethics, social responsibility, and environmental sustainability. Some of the very important concerns for an organization. The chapter objectives are: number one, explain why good ethics is good business in strategic management. Explain how firms can best ensure that their code of business ethics guides decision making instead of being ignored. Explain why whistleblowing is important to encourage in a firm. Discuss the nature and role of corporate sustainability reports. Discuss specific ways that firms can be good stewards of the natural environment. Explain ISO 14000 and 40001 and discuss recent trends in bribery law. Looking at the comprehensive strategic management model, we have gone through strategy formulation, strategy implementation, and strategy evaluation. And now we are looking at business ethics, social responsibility, and environmental sustainability, which is the overall environment, overall scenario in which our whole strategy would be performing its role. When we talk about social responsibility, it includes the actions an organization takes beyond what is legally required to protect or enhance the well-being of living things. And when we are concerned with sustainability, the extent that an organization's operations and actions protect, mend, and preserve rather than harm or destroy the natural environment. The business ethics is a set of principles of conduct within an organization that guide decision making and behavior. And there are 7 principles of admirable business ethics. Number 1, be trustful, which means that customers want to do business with a company they can trust. Customers can recognize what trust is at the core of a company. Simply defined, trust is assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, and truth of a business. The second principle is keep an open mind. The leaders of an organization must be open to new ideas, continually ask for opinions and feedback from both customers and employees to assure a good ethics culture. The third principle is meet obligations. Do everything possible to gain the trust of past customers and clients, particularly if something has gone wrong. Reclaim any lost business by honoring all commitments and obligations. Number 4, have clear documents. Make certain that all print materials such as advertising brochures and business documents are clear, precise, professional, and most importantly, do not misrepresent or misinterpret. Number 5, become community involved. Be actively involved in community related issues and activities, continually demonstrating that your business is a reasonable community citizen. Number 6, maintain accounting control. View accounting and record keeping not only as a means for monitoring the progress of your company, but as a source for identifying and stopping any questionable activities. And last but not the least, 7th principle, of admirable business ethics is talking about to be respectful. Treat others with the utmost of respect, regardless of different positions, title, ages, or beliefs. Always treat others with professional respect and courtesy. Follow the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Now, looking at Code of Business Ethics, we are concerned to ensure that the Code of Ethics is read, understand, believe, and remembered. Periodic ethics workshops are needed to sensitize people to workplace circumstances in which ethics issues may arise. When evolving an ethics culture, the whistleblowing refers to policies that require employees to report any unethical violations they discover or see in the firm. And when we talk about an ethics culture, remember that ethics training programs should include messages from the CEO or owner of the business emphasizing ethical business practices, the development and discussion of codes of ethics, and procedures for discussing and reporting unethical behavior. And when looking at the bribes, the bribery is basically offering, giving, receiving, or soliciting of any item of value to influence the actions of an official or other person in discharge of a public or legal duty. And remember that it is a crime in most countries of the world, including the United States and the rest of the developed or underdeveloped countries. And it is the worst part in an organizational history when ethical standards are violated and when bribes becomes the norms. So we should be focusing upon social responsibility. As Ralph Nader proclaims that organizations have tremendous social obligations, and as Milton Friedman asserts that organizations have no obligation to do any more for society than is legally required. So there is a contradiction in these two schools of thought. And then we need to decide for our own self that how much responsive we are related to our social responsibility. Either we are only the reactionist people, or we need to follow some proactive approaches. So looking at social policy concerns what responsibilities the firm has to employees, consumers, environmentalists, minorities, communities, shareholders, and other groups. And firms should strive to engage in social activities that have economic benefits. Talking about environmental sustainability, implies consumers, governments, and society are especially resentful of firms that harm rather than protect the natural environment. And conversely, people today are especially appreciative of firms that conduct operations in a way that mends, conserves, and preserves the natural environment. And that all led to the green movement as well. So lack of standards changing. Uniform standards defining environmentally responsible company actions are rapidly being incorporated into our legal landscape. And it has become more and more difficult for firms to make green claims when their actions are not substantive, comprehensive, and even true. So when we are talking about managing environmental affairs in a firm, the environmental strategies can include, number one, developing and acquiring green businesses, divesting or altering environmental damaging businesses, striving to become a low-cost producer through waste minimization and energy conservation, and pursuing a differentiation strategy through green product features. There are certain reasons that why firms should be green. The first reason identified over here is that consumer demand for environmentally safe products and packages is getting high. Public opinion demanding that firms conduct business in a way that preserves the natural environment is strong. Environmental advocacy groups now have over 20 million Americans as members. And in the rest of the world, the figures are even higher. And the federal and state environmental regulations are changing rapidly and becoming more complex. The fifth reason that why firms should be green is that more lenders are examining the environmental liabilities of businesses seeking loans. Many consumers, suppliers, distributors, and investors shun doing business with environmentally weak firms, and liability suits and fines against firms having environmental problems are on the rise. So we should be very much conscious about these factors, and we should be proactive, not reactive, as I told you earlier, that a proactive policy views environmental pressures as opportunities and includes such actions as developing green products and packages, conserving energy, reducing waste, recycling, and creating a corporate culture that is environmentally sensitive. And in relation with ISO's 14000 and 40001 certification, remember that ISO 14000 family of standards concerns the extent to which a firm minimizes harmful effects on the environment caused by its activities and continually monitors and improves its own environmental performance. And the ISO 40001 is a set of standards adopted by thousands of firms worldwide to certify to their constituencies that they are conducting business in an environmentally friendly manner. And this all would result into environmental management system. Now, when we talk about environmental management systems, the major requirements are show commitments to prevention of pollution, continually improvement in overall environmental performance, and compliance with all applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. The environmental management system should also identify all aspects of the organization's activities, products, and services that could have a significant impact on the environment, including those that are not regulated. And the major requirements of an environmental management system would also include set performance objectives and targets for the management system that link back to three policies. Number one, prevention of pollution. Number two, continual improvement. And number three, compliance. The EMS would also meet environmental objectives that include training employees, establishing work instructions and practices, and establishing the actual matrices by which the objectives and targets will be measured. And EMS would also conduct an audit operation and take corrective action when deviations from the EMS occur. So that basically concludes our chapter. Thank you very much for joining us today.